Calgary, the poorest Albertans spend more of their budget on housing than they did 8 years ago, and also appear to be buying less food, according to a University of Calgary report released Thursday morning. Rodney and Margarita Wilkins, professors with the university's School of Public Policy, suggest in their report that between 2010 and 2016, Albertans with incomes in the bottom 20% started devoting less of their budget to food and energy consumption, both gas and heating, but more to shelter costs. In 2010, the lowest-income Albertan households spent $41,145 a year. 6 years later, that number had decreased to $38,756. Downtown Calgary's Stephen Avenue. Poverty reduction advocates say the city needs to build more affordable housing, consider raising the minimum wage, and maybe even talk about a basic income to offset rising food and shelter prices for the poorest segment of society. Jennifer Friesen, devoting less of a budget to food does not necessarily mean poor Albertans are going hungry, Nebone told Star Metro Calgary. It could mean that people are cutting back on dessert, for instance, but are still getting enough to eat. What we can see from these data is that people at the low end of the income distribution are devoting less of their total budget to food, Nebone told Star Metro Calgary. But we can also infer, because food prices went up, that they must be buying a smaller quantity of food. However, organizations that study poverty in Calgary said that the city is seeing an increase in hunger and food insecurity from the poorest Calgarians. Nevena Ivanovich, public policy coordinator with the Women's Centre of Calgary, said her organization has seen a 15% increase in referrals to the Calgary Food Bank over the first 6 months of 2018, compared to last year. The report doesn't surprise her. Article continued below. Families tend to remain longer than previously on our food program, and more women are asking to join it, she said. We also see more women and families struggling with food insecurity just walking through our doors, hungry. The report notes that food prices in Alberta rose by 15.5%, while shelter costs rose by 9.8% and energy prices fell by 7.3%. But between 2010 and 2016, average spending across all income levels rose, except for the poorest Albertans. While the cost of food is partly to blame, the report said rising shelter costs, including rent and mortgage payments, tend to crowd out food and energy consumption for most income levels, especially the poor. When this happens, poorer Albertans may choose to spend less at a grocery store if it means paying the rent. What do you do with that? Ultimately, you go to a food bank, said Franco Savoia, executive director of Vibrant Communities Calgary, a poverty reduction organization based in the city. He added that the city needs to increase its supply of affordable housing. Only 3.6% of housing in Calgary is classified as affordable, Savoia said, compared with a national average of 6%. Meanwhile, richer Albertans are seeing their budgets grow. And while they're also spending less on food as a total share of their budget, Nebone explained, that doesn't translate into richer families going hungry. Article continued below. Although they spend a smaller fraction of their budget on food, because the budgets got bigger, they might be buying more food, Nebone said. The report suggests several major public policy issues, such as taxing energy consumption, exchange rates, and supply management for milk and other food, can hit low-income households hard. Savoia noted that Alberta needs to consider raising its minimum wage to a living wage, which he defined as $18.15 an hour for the Calgary area. Currently, Alberta's minimum wage is $13.60 an hour. Under the current wage, he said, poor Calgarians simply can't afford the necessities of life. If you're making minimum wage and you're working full-time, you can't meet your basic needs, Savoia said. Ivanovich said an income floor, such as a basic income guarantee, as well as an increase in affordable housing would ensure that poor people are better able to afford the necessities of life, a roof over one's head, food on the table and gas in the tank. We know that a lack of options impacts many of us, but really, it's the most vulnerable with the decision, should I pay the rent or buy groceries, she said. Brennan Doherty is a work and wealth reporter with Star Metro Calgary. Follow him on Twitter, @Bren_Doherty.